Kent Trenga. He's putting a lot of tutorial stuff. So I was just watching that.
Cool beans. All right.
I'm using DAS to rethink the pose. Do you
Cool.
oppose that or no?
Do I ever use DAS?
Do you oppose that? Because sometimes, like,
Oh, do I
I mean,
oppose that? No,
yeah,
I don't oppose it. No.
okay. Because I know my anatomy knowledge is still lacking, not on your level, so I try to be as
No,
accurate
I
as I
got it, man.
can. Okay.
So my strategy, like I understand what you're saying, and my advice typically is that you should supplement whatever you don't have. Oh gosh, why does it keep doing that? Where did it go? Where did it go? All right. You should supplement that in which you don't know how to do. Like you're saying, you don't know how to. You don't have like the best of anatomy skills, and
Right.
so it's if you want to get the job done, you're going to have to do that, right? And so, my general advice typically is whenever you're doing stuff like building your portfolio, um, building or working for a client, then do whatever the hell you need to outside from straight up stealing
Right.
to make a good image, because that's what you're going to do anyways
Right.
to do the work. You know, there's not going to be a client. At least I haven't dealt with a client that has done this where they're like, "Wait, use DAS 3D? You're fired." You know,
Right.
that's
Right.
very unlikely. It's a very ridiculous situation.
Mm-hmm.
That just does not happen. But when you're trying to learn, it should be obvious that I am opposed to that, right?
Right.
Because when you're trying to learn and you're doing all these tricks and you're using DAS to do it, it's cheating yourself unnecessarily,
Right.
right? Like if you are just trying to figure something out, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, it's fine for the assignment because again, this is a situation in which it makes sense.
Mm.
So yeah, man, go for it.
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
for it, brother. You're all right.
I have a question.
Oh snaps! What's up, lady?
So last time you were showing the fixing your proportions tip.
Uh-huh.
Do you recommend that for stylistic characters too?
Yeah.
Or is that just for realism?
No, you should do it for stylistic characters too. But the way you do it with stylistic characters is that
Use other
you kind of no, you don't even have to use other stylized. You can use real photos. You just caricature it.
Okay.
You just become like a caricature artist. That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you take a look at my buddy Jason Seiler. Like, you know, this is like painted very realistically, but I like looking at this because it's obviously painted realistically, but the proportions are overly exaggerated, you know? And
yeah.
That's kind of my point. Like you look at this image, you get a real sense of like distortion. And if you were to do the cartoony version or stylized version of Steven Tyler, you would have the same sensibilities, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice typically. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously you should look at other stylized artworks because it helps. But yeah, generally speaking, anything to get your proportions look good, you should do it. Yeah.
I have a selfish question. Because sometimes it's hard to judge your own work and stuff that I was proud of a couple of years ago. I'm now embarrassed of. So I want to ask for your opinion. Just, I mean, in general, I haven't had any professional experience yet. I was wondering if you could sort of evaluate how bad my work is and how far am I from like a like a decent, solid professional level.
Yeah, if you want me to look at your portfolio, we can actually do it at the very last class.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem, actually. Just remind me. And then, but till then, I would say just focus on your work. And then at the end of that, we'll take a look at your work, and then we'll also take a look at your portfolio. We'll give I'll give like an overview of what uh, you were like in the class and in scopes of your actual work,
Mm-hmm.
and then work on that. You know, because I think it's important to not get people too caught up in um, like the minutia of your portfolio stuff during the class right away, unless there's like a real obvious case that we should take a look. For instance, I would have some students who would do portfolio, um, or they'll show me their portfolio really early on because they use like a very specific process, and they just want to kind of get approval. Um, a good example of this is a student that like works in 3D a lot, and then he showed me that stuff just to show me that like he's actually pretty good. But then I was just kind of like, but what do you want to do? You want to paint or do 3D, you know? And he's like, I want to paint. So I was like, yeah, so let's just focus on that, you know? But I told him that, you can use your 3D to help you though, you know? But you can see how like looking at his portfolio was more of like a self-validation for him, and it wasn't necessary, you know? He could have easily done what like Wen just did. It was just like, I'm using DAZ 3D. Is that okay? I'm using 3D. Is that okay? Am I photo bashing? Is that okay? You know? And depending on the situation, I'll give you a proper answer. But my general sense is what I just explained, just in that moment, right? Which was that as long as you're not straight up stealing, and you're doing stuff like for your homework to just have a final image that looks good, yeah, by all means, do whatever you need to. It's only really when it comes down to that. It only really comes down to like that very very uh, early stages of like learning and studying. It really is not it's like backwards strategies to use all these things. If you want to get really good at photo bashing, then by all means you should photo bash and practice that. But if you want to have a good foundational knowledge, then you should probably not photo bash, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting why I didn't do a good job here.
Yeah, I'm
But
kind of bringing like what I already painted into that scene to help myself. So
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it's not that you won't even learn anything from that. You actually will still learn stuff. And interestingly, you'll start to probably be a little bit more hyper focused on why the anatomy works better in that DAZ 3D thing.
mhm.
And then you'll like proactively try to find the right type of reference to study from moving forward.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I
good
think some of us
question.
just watched the Ross video. It's pretty cool. I like that first collab you did. That was like a few years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that video.
Ross is a good guy. He's a lot of fun.
Mm.
Yeah, I just saw in the chat too. Apparently, Adam posted some stuff on Photoshop for the iPad. I'm assuming it wasn't that positive, which is fine. Yeah, I even when I was there, I was talking to some of the W people, and I feel like illustrators reviewing Photoshop on iPad is like Martin Scorsese having his opinion about Marvel movies. It's like, yeah, you make movies too, my man, but they're like in different genres. Just because you don't like that genre doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good genre. Does that make sense?
Isn't that what Sam Jackson said?
Yeah, I think he did. I don't know, but like
Hey,
it's just it's so silly to me. It's like if Michael Bay was to do the opposite with Martin Scorsese movies and say that Martin Scorsese movies don't have enough action in them. I'm like, no, they're not necessarily supposed to. They're more dramas, right?
but
Like there's action for sure, and the action's more heavy hitting because it's a drama. And I love those movies too. It's like I can love I can love pita bread and hummus, which is much healthier for you. And I can also love ice cream sandwiches. You know what I mean? Which are clearly not healthy for you, but it's okay, right? Like it's like, oh, I can eat some ice cream sandwiches. But if all I did was eat ice cream sandwiches, I can see how that's a compliment or that's a criticism. It just was so silly to me because it's just like, yes, Marvel movies. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of superhero movies, specifically Marvel movies, right? But that's in context of any other superhero movies. You know what I mean? And like a series, like an episodic series in movie form, because there's TV shows that have, in terms of hours put in, way longer amounts of hours, you know, that are dramas, and also like there's plenty of movies. I just watched the King, and I was like, this is super dope, you know. And then you have people like Spielberg saying that Netflix movies aren't cinema either, or something along those lines too. I'm just like, you old movie directors need to stay in your lane, man. Like I love you guys, but stop sounding like old men on like a on a lawn with a shotgun. You know, it's just so bizarre. Like I am almost certain, especially with Lucas. I know for certain it was true for Lucas, where people were really highly critical of these filmmakers and what they were trying to do. I'm sure there was people that were like, "Oh, these guys aren't real filmmakers." It's just so weird. I wonder when I'm going to be like that. I'm like old timer. Back in my day, we used to paint using a Wacom tablet. None of this AI bullshit. I'm just so curious to what that would be for me. Because even with the AI bullshit, I am actually in favor of it too. So I wonder what will be the line that I will be kind of like old banish about. I'm not sure. Yeah.
It feels like that's almost more of a mindset thing, though, than an actual kind of fact that is going to make you eventually be like that. I think, especially with someone like you, where it's always, or at least from what I see, always trying the latest techs or approaches to art. It seems like maybe that's not gonna potentially be as hard hitting on you, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
but I also recognize that I'm an outlier,
Mm.
and it's kind of the biggest point to what you were talking about right now
Yeah,
is that not many people think like me just in general, and so um, like I look at like general audiences reaction and stuff like this. I'm like, and let's be clear, like I also think that it's important to recognize that just because the majority of people like something doesn't necessarily make it good either. I think that's
right.
also a reality. But the Marvel movies are good. That's why they're popular. You know,
Hmm.
they're not popular like porn is popular, where it's just
Right,
like a person is just indulges in this, you know, and
right.
it could get really dangerous if they watch a lot of it. Or foods, right? Like foods are even a better example. Like sugars, like soda. Soda is delicious,
Hmm.
and it's really easy and it's very cheap, and it's not like you don't have to work for it, right?
Right.
Marvel movies are like they're trying to make it seem like they're like these soda pop movies, like they're like a soda pop equivalent, you know.
Hmm.
And to me, it's just isn't that. It just can't be because people really have emotional reactions to these movies. If these like, I don't have emotional reaction when I watch Fast and the Furious or any of the Transformers movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like if Scorsese was to say to me, the Transformers or the Transformers movies is kind of like a roller coaster, I would actually be like, yeah, you know what, that's fair, you know. Or if he
Hmm.
were to say the Fast and Furious movies are like roller coaster rides, you know,
Hmm.
I'll be like, that's fair. But dude, I was like bawling, dude, at the end of Endgame.
Oh
I was
man, yeah.
genuinely like upset, and I was like, this is so good. I was
Mhm.
like so moved by it, right?
Right.
And a TV show that you would think would be in the realm of what Scorsese would love, Game of Thrones. I had
Mhm.
the opposite reaction. I was furious,
Oh.
and that's a show that is serious. It's a more of a drama, more heart heavy hitting, emotionally driven show, and yet at the very final chapters of it, had no emotion other than regret, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so I just think it's clearly he's just jealous that they're $1 billion movies, that
Mhm.
he can't make $1 billion movies, and I don't know why he should be, because he makes great movies, but those movies aren't $1 billion movies. They're just not. No one's gonna get The Departed at a mass scale, you
Right.
know. In fact, most people can't, like the majority of people can't watch The Departed because it's so violent. You know what I mean? Like I can't take my family and kids to watch The Departed. You know,
Yeah.
like my wife isn't into The Departed. You know, but my wife is into Iron Man. You know, she didn't even watch all the Marvel movies, and she too was like in tears because she understood who he was, like in the scope of the movie franchise. And
Right.
it's really a powerful moment, you know, at the very end, the end game. And so I don't know. I just think he was really kind of, it was unnecessary. Um, Actually, I'll take this back. He's allowed to say whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
I just think that he's wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's allowed to have his opinion, and I just think that I think objectively he's wrong too. I don't think subjectively he's wrong.
Mhm.
Like let me give you a great example of me being objectively wrong, but having a subjectively different opinion. I don't like Lord of the Rings. Okay,
Okay.
I don't like Harry Potter. I think
Okay.
I'm objectively wrong about these. I think that Lord of the Rings is a like great film trilogy. I think it has a historic background to it. It's beloved by many, right? I think people also have an emotional attachment to it. I think that they're good movies. I would never say that they're not cinema. I would not say that they're not like things just because I personally do not like them, you know?
Right.
But that's my point. Like I don't like them, but I can understand why they're good.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't be blind to why they're successful, because that'd be delusional. They're incredibly successful, you know?
Right.
Harry Potter is another great example. Harry Potter I despise even more because I just don't get it.
Mm.
Like this kid's been going to school for like 7 years and he still doesn't know like more than like two spells.
Yeah.
If I was a wizard parent too, and be like, it would be like going to school where there's like consistent mass shootings every
Yeah.
year,
On the
but
same school.
but
Yeah.
not even just mass shootings at like a small scale, like the Texas mass shooting, like fucking
Yeah.
epic mass shootings, or kids are dying left and right in large, like terrorist attacks essentially every year. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Let's move. Let's go to the American district, because like what the fuck's going on here, man? Like this school needs to get their security in
Yeah.
check. Like
And it's always a teacher for the same class that does it too.
yeah, and I'm like all right, like my kid's not going to that school. Like this is
Yeah.
clearly dangerous. But but anyway, that kind of stuff stood out to me, and it's just so hard
Yeah.
for me to get past it. I was like, this is just not, like, I don't care that there's wizards and like magic shit, like the administrative aspects of it like I just got so hung up on them.
Yeah.
Like
But they
it
do
just
make
seems
a lot
like,
of sense.
yeah, it just to me, I think they could have done the same thing, just change locations, you know,
Yeah.
change the circumstances a little bit more, like not always at the fucking same school. Like at some
Right.
point it's like it's clearly a franchise, like the Fast and the Furious movies. But like I said, that's my opinion though. I don't think that I'm right though. I think a lot of people have the right idea. I think it is a good, like Harry Potter Land looks dope as fuck, you know. I'm like, oh, that
Yeah.
does look kind of cool, you know, like it's kind of cool. And so I think as a professional, like Scorsese, in my opinion, is a professional. I was quite disappointed by that opinion, because I think that's the kind of thing that you keep between, like, your peers.
Right.
Like for instance, like I have reservations of certain designs in movies and video games, right?
Mhm.
Like there's some movies that don't have a good appreciation for in terms of like style and the way that they've been pulled off.
Mhm.
But these are my fellow designers, you know, and
Right.
maybe it's not entirely their fault, or maybe that's just what they thought and they tried something and it just didn't work out for me. You
Mhm.
know, there's nothing wrong with having a critique, you know, but it's like, I think it's professional to keep that critique to yourself. Um, it's like parenting too. Like if you see someone treating their kid, unless they're like really abusive, I
Mhm.
usually stay out of it. But like, it's like if somebody comes up to you while you're like parenting your child and then they have opinions on it, it's sort of
Right.
rude.
Yeah.
Even if you're right, even if you feel like you have the right attitude, it just seems rude or um, what's it better? Yeah, it just seems rude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think
so
the thing with Scorsese that to me was interesting is the fact that at the end of the day, he can say it's not cinema, but whatever is being produced is on the cinema. He's just kind of bashing the same art that he creates or the same like
yeah,
essence in a way. So like tainting his own industry in a way.
yeah. There's just like a
So
lot of historic presidents when it comes to stuff like this. Like I always make this joke of like how there used to be people used to paint with eggs,
yeah.
and then oils started to come out, and then the people who painted with eggs were like, "What is this nonsense? Like, get this like non-drying like paint bullshit out of here. It's all about painting with tempera."
Right.
And then you know acrylics and markers started coming out, and then like like the people in the traditional world are like, "What is this nonsense? Like
Yeah.
this fast drying, you know,
hmm
acrylics." And then you start seeing digital art, which that was another major shift. And then you said,
Right.
oh, the whole traditional industry come together, talking shit
Yeah.
about digital art, and
Yeah.
then photo bashing started coming, and so then you have like,
yeah.
and then like now the AI is like the big thing that's coming out,
hmm
right? And now people are going to talk shit about AI as well,
Right.
and so there's this constant just bashing of the future, and in
Yeah.
every instance, the people who were of the past just seem so stupid.
hmm
You know, and that's why I'm thinking like that's what's happening right now, you know, with Scorsese's opinion. And I encourage you guys to have your opinion. Like he is by all means allowed to hate the Marvel movies or
hmm
not like them or never watch them, which also frustrates me. He's like critiquing something he doesn't even watch. It's like
Mm.
it's like if I talk
Right.
shit about Martin Scorsese movies and I only watched one, that might not be a fair opinion, you know.
Yeah.
It just seems so bizarre. I don't get it.
He said he tried to watch them and couldn't get into it. And he probably just like watched like one of them. Not he didn't start with Iron Man. He just started with whatever.
Oh man, yeah, he probably watched Thor too, and I don't blame him. Then I'm like, yeah, he's right. They're garbage. From that perspective, I'll be like, yeah, you're fucking right. But
It's
like,
also weird how many like videos and articles like attacking him and defending like
yeah, I don't
he's
think that's smart
right
either.
and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Chelsea thinks that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think even like attacking him like the reverse is also stupid because it goes back to the point of like just disagree with his opinion. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean like I think it's just honestly I have no context of how this even blew up, but it just seems like someone just blew it out of proportions. It might have just been he was just probably saying in passing like, oh, I'm talking about it now, and then someone took that and made it like a soundbite, and then just like it just went over the hill. But I'm sure Kevin Feige's is like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, okay,
yeah.
you know, he's just sitting on his ivory tower made out of the bones of the DC movies. And
Wiping the
so,
tears with $100 bills.
no $1,000 bills, dude.
Yeah.
Those are
yeah. Seriously.
billion-dollar movies, my man. And so, yeah, like I said, I think those are good movies. I don't think that they're like great legendary movies, except for maybe some of them.
hmm
Like I think Endgame is going to be historic. It's like a historic movie, and to deny that is it just seems bizarre.
Yeah. But there's not many movies with a 10-year or over 8-year build-up. right?
Get out of here, woman. My wife's trying to get kisses from me.
Oh.
Get out of here. I'm teaching. God dang it. Just trying to be a professional, lady. Anyway, sorry. All right. Any other questions?
Well, if someone has a question, they can go ahead and speak
Yeah,
over me. I'm fine.
Yeah, let's see if someone doesn't. We'll come back to you. It's all good.
Uh,
Sneeze while. All right.
Bless you.
I have another simple one.
Yeah, go for it.
So you were telling me to spend 10 minutes on the gesture drawing studies. How long would you recommend to spend on like a painting study? Like an hour?
Same. You always with the small studies, you should you just focus on less things, and then when you start to feel more confident, then you should increase the time. You should actually do both, right? So it's like when I say you should study like those gesture drawing ones in 10 minutes, that kind of makes sense because those aren't supposed to be long anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like if we were to take a look at like physical training, right? The principle around physical training is the same. Like you want to do exercises that are heavy, along with exercises that are just large reps, which are not heavy, something that you can do several times over. You know. And so I have that same principle with painting. Like, so you want to study things that are going to take you 10 minutes, and you could just study just like how to paint like a hand, or how to paint like a face, or how to paint just a very small part of a design that you like, but it's like really contained. Does that make sense? It's not like this large painting. But then once you start to feel confident in that world, then that's a good time to kind of start practicing the long form versions of these things. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on the right track then.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of, it all depends on the circumstances, like the situational stuff. If you're only focused on, just quick paintings, then you might be missing out for sure.
Okay. Thanks.
So something I was wondering about is if you might have any tips.
Do I have any tape? No, I don't have any tape, dude.
No, that's fine. I can get that in Amazon.
I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's a place that sells tape.
Yep. No, but any tips or advice for finishing a piece in regards to rendering? Because I could, for example, with ZBrush sculpting, it's kind of relatively easy to understand the concept of primary details, secondary, tertiary details being porous, things like that. I was wondering with painting if you do the same approach in order to finish a painting, or there's something else. I think it's specifically textures. That's what I was curious about. Like on
yeah,
the
it's the same. It's the same thing actually. So you have primary shapes, secondary shapes, tertiary shapes.
Right.
So primary shapes is what you would do in a thumbnail. Primary or secondary shapes is like what I believe is the actual image now. Like we have all of the information we would need to start to do the tertiary stuff, which is just detail. And in terms of importance, I just laid it out to you as well. Like I think that's the same order of importance, meaning that tertiary shapes are the least important. That's why the last stage. Primary shapes are the most important. That's why they're the second stage. But like, yeah, it's the same principle. In fact, the reason why a lot of really good 3D educators, like sculptors, will teach this because it's just true in all stages of things. Like even if programming, like it's the same principle. Like when I was learning programming, it's all about like the macro level of the code, meaning like the actual structural code, like the way that you built that code. Because if you build it really like kind of just haphazardly, you
Mhm.
can kind of create like a house of cards effect where when you want to now make like some sort of significant change, it will create a this kind of chain reaction of just headaches and destruction, you know.
Right.
um, but if you have this like better, like you have like this more foundational knowledge of how you should build your code, then it's easier to kind of change and fix things more consistently. And
Okay.
so detailing is the same idea.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just that what it is that it's just the tertiary stages are just so boring.
Hmm.
That's usually
Time
what
consuming.
happens. Yeah, it's just super boring. It's not interesting at all. Like when you're like in the primary stages, it's a lot of fun, right? Because you're just designing and throwing shapes all over the place. It's super
Mhm.
fun. But when you're doing, when you're doing like T-shary stuff, it's just really about refinement.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, but I get it though. Get why you'd rather not want to do that.
I mean, I think it can be fun still sometimes, especially as you start see your image kind of become more alive. Um,
Totally.
but I've definitely, mostly in ZBrush, especially with sculpting, but you come across this problem of you get into the tertiary details before your secondary shapes are figured out, and then you just kind of waste a lot of time where your shapes end up looking very flat. So that's why I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I don't have anything else actually to say. It's pretty much like I find that the rendering stage, the final stages, is the hardest to teach
Hmm.
because it requires the student to actually put in the time.
Yeah.
And why that's hard is for obvious reasons. And so, like, it's really easy to get someone started on a very general sense, like doing thumbnails and doing some rough sketches,
Hmm.
like these types of things. It's really easy to get people to do that and wrap their minds around these concepts because there's very low stakes. It's a sketch.
Hmm.
But then when it's time to like really go to town and really sit there, that's like it's impossible to teach patience. It's
Yeah.
impossible to teach resilience. So I try to inspire patience and try to inspire resilience. Um, and again, a great example of this using physical activity is just the simple fact of like having somebody, like if I tell you you have to do this many push-ups or this many exercises to get strong,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and you never do it,
Right.
right? Like I could tell you how to build muscle, you know,
But you
I
have
could
to
tell
put
you,
in the work.
yeah, I could tell you like really great recipes to eat to be healthier. But if
Hmm.
you don't do it, like I can't do anything about it. The
Right.
only difference between least physical activity, or at least especially with diet is easier to get people to do if you have like a personal chef making delicious food for you. All right.
Yep.
Like that is actually something you can do. There is a trick to that,
Yeah.
But physical activity is a better example. Like you even if you hire a personal trainer, you still have to show up and
Yeah.
work out. And that still is, there's a barrier there because you can still opt out of showing up,
Hmm.
you know? Where if
Yeah.
someone's cooking you gourmet, healthy foods, that's easy to do. But nobody can
Right.
afford that, obviously.
Yeah. You just gotta have money.
Yeah. Because even like even the working out thing, something that you can afford if you're wealthy, there's plenty of overweight. Um, there's plenty of overweight celebrities.
True.
Yeah, and they decidedly like don't eat healthy foods, and even when they do, they probably ask them to give them more portions. So even that argument still doesn't work because I guess they're
Right.
still like they could afford these things and they still don't give into
Right.
it.
Or well, you can eat small and super healthy, but still gain weight if you don't work
Yeah,
out though. So
if you eat a lot, it's about
yeah,
calorie surplus.
right. Thermodynamics.
Yeah, if you're eating a lot of food, then you're gonna gain a lot of weight. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Um.
so you're
Oh,
right.
so. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
Wait, go ahead. Oh, so actually, it was a question that Lan asked. I thought it was kind of very interesting because I was confused about that as well. It's character sheets for concept art portfolios.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you see portfolios that have a lot of breakdowns and side views, back views, all of that. But then sometimes you see artists, for example, that work at Riot Games and they only have a character standing straight. How much better or how important is it to have in your concept art pieces these turnarounds, these breakdowns for your
Um,
character?
yeah, the more you can have, the better. It's really that
Okay.
simple. I don't think it's confusing at all.
Okay.
Obviously, if you have like a really well thought through character sheet, that's gonna give you an advantage
Okay.
versus somebody who doesn't.
Okay.
But ultimately, what you should be focused on is whether it's good. Um, like just have good artwork. You know,
You
if
get good.
yeah, just get good artwork. Um, because the problem with that sort of question
Hmm.
is implying that it's like close,
Okay.
right? Like, oh man, like I would have got that job if I had character sheets.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will say this to you to your face. That's why they didn't like your work, but that's because they're being nice. Because if they were to just say what's real reason, they'll just say to you, "You're not good, and your work is nowhere near what we need at our studio."
Yeah.
You know, but people aren't going to say that to your face, right?
Right.
Uh, what they do online when you send emails, they just won't reply at all.
Yep.
They're not going
Yeah.
to reply to you why your work wasn't. If you would have had more character sheets, that would have been helpful. Like they don't reply at all, because
Right.
if I don't have to face you at all and tell you that you're garbage, then I'm not going to say anything. I'm just
They
gonna be like,
rather
well,
avoid that.
yeah. So whenever someone's like, oh, you need more environments, you need more characters, you need more whatever the fuck you need more of, that's just a nice way of saying that you were really bad,
Yeah.
or that we don't like your artwork. Maybe you're not that you're bad. It's just you just don't like it, right? Or it's
Okay.
not a good fit for us. But
Okay.
like obviously having all that stuff, like I said, doesn't hurt your portfolio. But like I said, the original premise of this kind of where this question's coming from is wrong.
Okay.
It makes it seem like, oh, like you have an advantage. If your work is all trash, it won't give you any advantage. you know,
You're right.
like if a person only posted one artwork with no character sheets of any kind, and it was just a portrait of somebody, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just so well drawn and so
Mm-hmm.
well designed, and there's only one image on their whole portfolio, that person would have a better chance of getting that job versus you having like let's say 12 pages of characters and
And
they're
it's all
all
trash.
well drawn through and they're all trash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so that should be very obvious. Like you
Yeah.
should be like, you know what, that's clear. And
Yeah.
so
Makes sense.
whenever you get reviews and they say stuff like that to you, like, oh, you need more of this and more of that, uh just ask them very bluntly, like, just be like, well, that's great, like, can you just give me some feedback though on what it is about my characters, like outside of all that other stuff you suggested, like my specific characters, like what do you think is missing from them, or what do you think they don't make you excited or inspired, right?
Okay.
Because like because people will say, yeah, you need more environment stuff in your stuff. I hear this a lot from my students,
Oh.
like because they'll go to like events and they get confused because like they'll hear different feedback from different people,
Mm-hmm.
and I say you should listen to everybody's feedback, but you also should be able to read between the lines, and you should be able to have some deductive reasoning,
Right.
right? So when we look at someone like Vitaly Bogorov, he clearly doesn't do environments,
Right. But
right?
his hard surface stuff is still insane.
But he doesn't have enough environment stuff. I mean, there's not enough fantasy. There's not enough diversity in this portfolio.
Yeah.
He must be struggling. Like, yeah, you're like, wait a minute. No, of course that's not true. And
Yeah.
then once you start to just do a little bit of research on why people are successful, let's take a look at Jamas, portfolio body of work. Let's see if we see a pattern here. Yep.
Which is good.
He does a lot. He does a lot of compositions and film stills.
Mm-hmm.
He's a concept artist in terms of film stills. Sweet. Let me see if I'm gonna find another artist. Is that Loish? It looks like Loish's stuff. It is.
Yeah.
Do you see a pattern? I mean, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think she has enough environments. I mean, let's look at an environment person. It seems like they have good work. This is pretty good. Yeah, I would say this person does not have enough work. But you'll see a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And that pattern. Yeah,
Wait, would you have actually said that person doesn't have enough work?
Yeah, that is why they're probably, if they are struggling, this would be a reason why. That is a fair criticism if you don't have enough work.
Okay.
So
what would be considered enough, do you think?
Just like all the examples I just showed you. When you go to their websites and you see just like a plethora of images.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so here's another good example.
Not many guys.
Yeah. There's always something missing,
Mm-hmm.
but one thing is true about all these artists. They're all fucking good.
Yeah.
You know? And if you just go through like your favorite artists, right? If you just start looking at like the people that you actually like, right? Let's go to the quality control one that I have. So like if we look at Brad Rigney's portfolio, it's clearly realistic illustration, character illustration to be exact, right? If we look at June, environments, he's got some characters here, but he's definitely known more for his environments, right? But it's like consistent. It's like a consistent thing. Oh yeah, Julian, another still frame for films. You know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't then say, oh, he doesn't have enough stylized artwork. It's just not good feedback. Okay. This is super cool. Oh man, this is incredible.
I'm going to follow that guy. That's pretty good.
Anyway, he doesn't have enough creatures.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But you know, like that's kind of the that's kind of like the dismantling of that argument.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Some studios do actually think that they need like a multi-talented artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually they'll be like mobile companies, right? Mm-hmm. Or companies that are a lot smaller, like indie studios, and that kind of makes sense, right? Because these people are in need of multi-skilled people because they don't have a budget,
right?
They can't afford like just me to just do character artists or character arts,
right?
They might need me to do some environment stuff. They need me to help do some UI even, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so generally speaking, the way that I navigate that piece of feedback is to just simply think of it as I just explained, like they probably just don't want to tell you that you suck balls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they're not doing you any favors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll hear this a lot in university too, this concept of like, well, if you have a degree, then you'll have an advantage. The only time that that's true is if you want to work overseas and you want to get a visa. Because for whatever reason, countries only want people to come here that have some sort of higher education.
Right, to sponsor them.
Yeah. But if that was not the case, there quite literally, in my opinion, is no real reason. It just does not make any sense.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, to add to that, I was just recently looking through some of these big companies and who they're hiring, and I'm not sure which one it was, but it said that they require a higher education, a 4-year degree or whatever at least. Uh, so I was wondering if my portfolio is good enough, would they just not pay any attention to that? Would they
Yeah, it
consider
could,
that?
depending on where they're at, it could be, especially if you're looking at it on ArtStation, it could be for the reasons I just laid out.
Hmm.
Because if they know they're dealing with international artists, they're trying to potentially forego this hurdle.
I think it was the Rockstar website.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, that's not the case then. They're just probably putting it in there because there's this like some sort of HR person who
Mm.
they went to a 4-year college and they want to like validate their education. But the art director did not write that.
Mhm. But if I came with like a really great portfolio,
Yeah, if you showed up like at an event, you ran into one of the lead concept artists or art director, someone who's in charge or someone who's like in the art team and they are well versed with what it takes to be a good artist, and you demonstrate all of that in your portfolio, yeah, it'd be weird if there's like, oh man, like let's hire you, and then you're like, oh, okay, great, and then they're like, oh wait, you didn't go to a 4-year college? Oh, sorry, man, you're an idiot. You're like, what? Yeah, sorry, we don't hire idiots.
well, I'll just tell them that I went to a 4-week robot pencil.
Like say again, it just like
I'll
turned
just
off.
tell them that I went to the robot pencil center.
There you go.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
Actually, I also took a class with Kalen a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only know the visa stuff because I've had a friend who experienced that. It sucked. He had like this like full ride to go to like I think it was Belgium, and they were gonna do all this stuff, pay for his travels and all this amazing things. And he's like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And then they're like, as he was applying for the visa, they say he had to have a 4-year, or he had to have a certificate. And it's funny because he was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, I mean, it seems like you can't do anything, man. And I was like, that sucks. That's a bummer. But then he's like, yeah, but like, they emailed me and they're like, they sent me all these like shady ass websites on how to get a degree overnight. And I was like, yeah, don't do that. This is not an opportunity that you can have. Let's just face it. But my point is that this studio, it wasn't that the studio wasn't legit. They actually were super legit. They were like shocked, and they were trying to like circumvent it somehow. And they're like, yeah, maybe check this website and maybe you can get your degree and it can work out. And then he responded back to them after we were talking with me about it. He's like, yeah, it doesn't seem like a legal thing. Like it's completely a scam, and I don't want to go to your country and then all of a sudden be kicked out for some sort of legal stuff. And they respected that. They're like, all right, but like, yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Like even this company was like, oh, we'll forego the legal ramifications. But let's be clear here. There are companies and studios who are wealthy enough that they would try to forge some sort of solution legally through some sort of loophole. I'm sure. It's just for him. They weren't wealthy enough to be able to make this happen. Oh, by the way, I forgot that this is the Photoshop where the Tiddly button turns any brush you have into an eraser, which is perfect. Oh my God. Which means I'm going to find this hotkey, change it to eraser, because I generally never need to erase with a different brush. You would rather use this Tiddly. I'm just wondering where it's at. Let's see.
for left-handed people, those are usually not good hotkeys. Kind of sucks.
Just change your hands.
I mean, I guess it is possible.
Yeah, just change your hands, dude. Stop being a scrub. I don't know where this will be at. I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I mean, it's close
It's
enough.
not set up automatically?
It is set up automatically. I want to change it so somewhere else because I feel it's a little out of place. I'm sure there's a way. I just don't want to waste my time looking for it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, I'm curious what Adam said too. Now I'm like, he's a good dude. We had a stream together. It's a lot of fun. We should do that again.
Oh, when was that stream?
Maybe we should get him on the stream and we can talk about it. I could yell at him and be like, "You're an old man."
Oh, that would be awesome, man. That would be so cool.
Yeah, mutual respect. You old fogey. To be clear, like even this is true for me. Like Jama did that to me because I was like really standoffish about using Infinite Painter, and then Jama was so angry. He's just like, "What?" He's like, "You haven't even used it." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know." He's like, "What the?" It's like, "This is not the Anthony Jones that I know." He's like, "I can't believe this is happening." And I was like, all right, I'll try it out. I'll give it like a good hour. And he was like, "Oh, thank God." And then I used it for an hour, and I was like, "Yeah, this tool is dope as fuck." Yeah, I always give advice to students that like I always tell them it's better just to assume you don't know than to just assume you know. And I was assuming I knew, so I was like not even following my advice in that instance. And again, proving my advice is true by being so wrong. Because it's now my premier. It's my now premier painting tool on mobile devices. Like I don't use Procreate anymore.
Cool.
All right, I'll take one more question, and then we'll bounce out of here. Send you guys out into the weekend. It better count. Better be the best question in the universe.
I mean, I had a question, but I think I don't know.
I'll take another one. Just go ahead and ask that one.
Okay.
And if there is no more after that, we can just bounce.
Okay. So basically, I was curious. Nowadays, you see a lot of concept artists that are super young, getting into obviously like Riot Games, Blizzard, things like that. I was curious about age. So just like straight up, for example, me, I'm 26, and I feel kind of weird getting right now trying to get into concept art at 26, as if it is old. I know it's a ridiculous thing to.
I do.
to
I'm
worry
36.
about,
What are you talking about?
but... Wait, you're 36?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you look like 26 at the most. Damn.
Asian, dude. Asians don't crack, dude.
Whoa. Okay. But yeah, I was just curious about that. I don't know.
Again, I think a lot of these questions are just based on insecurities.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like just like play out the scenarios. Like whenever you have these types of questions, like before you ask them, right? Just play out a scenario. Say you show up to Riot Games and you're like, "I'm 26," and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here. We only want teenagers." You know, that's like that's clearly not a thing. Like nobody does that. Like, would you, if you had a company and Sid Mead, one of the greatest illustrators and concept designers in the world of concept art and film, shows up at your door and he's like, "I'm willing to work with your guys' company," but he's like in his 80s. Would you be like, "Well, dude, you're a little too old, man. Sorry, man." Like very unlikely. Right. He's one of the greatest, the most legendary artists in our industry. You probably would want to work with him. Right. You know, the problem would actually be the opposite. It would be like whether he would want to work with you, and even better yet, can you even afford him? You know, and so it's the age thing is not a thing. It just isn't. Like there's really no real discrimination, especially in terms of hiring that I've seen within our industry. a lot of people would make it seem like that is not the case, that there's definitely some discrimination. But trust me, there generally isn't. I would say that if there is any discrimination, it's actually just the typical type of stuff when you have a bunch of dudes and a very few women. That definitely is a thing, and it's mostly like just pervert dude behavior, right? Because dudes are perverts. We just are, you know. But it could be a problem for sure, and I've seen it happen a few times, and there's lots of examples coming out of this industry now.
Runs like
What are you talking about, Lane?
Sorry, I'm trying to learn Modo.
You're just like talking out loud. I was like, what the hell? But you see what I'm saying? Like, but even within that context, most people in the industry, you know, are very, very opposed to that kind of discrimination. Just like you know, like bad dates or just overly aggressive, you know, hitting on or sexual harassment, like these types of things. That's definitely a thing, and it's almost it's really hard to avoid because you're always going to have those people, and when you're outnumbered, and a lot of the people that are in charge are dudes, I can imagine that being a challenge. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
But them getting in, like a female artist getting in, is not a problem. There isn't like some sort of like male Illuminati that we're trying to keep some certain quota. The reality is that when I was working at studios, the amount of female portfolios that were submitted were very minimal. Like I don't think I've seen more than like 2 in my many years of working in the industry.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, even if we just did, like, again, just do your own basic research, right? If we were to go here and just pick our favorite, let's say we're going to do character design, okay? And let's stick with like mostly, we'll just go with anything that we see as character design. I don't care what style it is. We'll just click on any and all characters that we see here, right? Like whether they're models or they're actual paintings, whatever. So I just, like you saw, I just randomly select as many characters as I saw here. And we can go through this list. Yeah, Evan already knows the dude. Merritt, I have no clue. This could be a dude with a ponytail. Or it could be a female artist. I have no idea. No, I think it's a dude because it looks like a goatee. Who knows?
Yeah.
Most likely, probably another dude. Right? Neon Yang. All right, we got one female artist. I'm almost certain that this is female from this portrait. Okay, so we got one. Let's keep going. Omid. I already know he's. Yep, another dude. Danielle Clark. Yep, another dude. Tooth. I think this is a company, so this is not actually.
Okay.
I think Tooth. No, I think Tooth is actually one dude. Now that I think about it, but yes, another dude. If I remember correctly, Dennis, dude. Michael, dude. Unless this is some new age stuff and parents have been naming their kids with masculine names, which can happen. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who this person is. There's no portrait, so there's no telling. But if I had to guess, it's a dude. But let's just say the benefit of the doubt, it's not. Dude.
Yeah.
Arvid, I think this is another dude. Yeah, he follows me. Sick. Follow you back, dude. Pretty good. Yingxi, no idea. So out of like the 10, maybe 15 that we saw, there's 2 we don't know for sure, and one that I'm pretty sure it is. And this also could be wrong. Like this person could just have like a painting, a drawing of a female that they like, and they think, oh, that'd be a good representation of my portrait. That's a thing that people do. There's no real way of knowing for sure unless I ask my buddies who work at Epic. But they don't. This person's in China though, so they're probably. Oh, they follow me too. I'm following them too. What images did I think I followed them for? I don't remember it. Oh, it's this one.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So they exist, female artists, obviously. We got a couple in this class, right? But even if you look at the couple in this class, out of all the students I've teach in a year, I teach like hundreds of students. There's probably a few dozen female students versus the several dozen female or male students. Now, I also think this has to do with kind of subject matter. I think if I was an animation instructor, like animation designer, maybe I would have more female artists because there are more females in the animation field than in our field. But like my point is, like, if you want to talk about discrimination in terms of hiring, it just doesn't exist as far as I've seen.
Okay.
What really is going on is a matter of just numbers. If you have 100 people applying for one job and 10 people there are female and the other 90 are male, this is why there's a divergence there. This is a bottom-up solution, not a top-down one. Bottom-up solution meaning that we need more ladies to know that they should be doing this or could be doing this, you know, and that it's cool to draw fucking monsters and robots and stuff like that instead of what might be perceived they should be drawing, like cute stuff, you know.
Right.
But you start them young, you know, versus get them like when they've already grown. And with that being said, like the age stuff is not a thing. I mean, I guess if you're really, really old or really, really young, there could be some argument there. But I don't think that's real though, the age stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think even like ethnicity thing, I don't see that as a problem. It's again another numbers thing. There's just not a lot of black folk applying for jobs. You know, even when I go to events and I find other black artists, I try to get together with like all the black artists in the room. We were in Lightbox, and at the exhibitor hall, there's quite literally just like I think 4 of us out of literally hundreds of people, like 300 people probably there.
Yeah,
I remember me and Mike were just like, what the? It was me, Mike, Kaylin. No, it was like maybe it was like 7. It's me, Mike, Kaylin, Marco, Philip, Manny. There was one other person, I forget his name, but definitely 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I don't think that's a systematic thing where like the white man is trying to keep us black people out of the industry. It's just it's not true because I was there. I was part of the thing. But why? Not because they're trying to fill a quota, but because I'm an exceptional artist.
Right.
And that's how it should be. And so if you focus on just quality of your work and the friends you make in the industry, you'll find you'll do okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, I know it feels like there's all these other factors that are really in the way. And all these factors can determine, and like I'm not saying that it's never going to be a problem. I'm just saying if you're getting hired or applying for a studio that actively is like, we only want to hire like teenagers, you might have actually dodged a bullet. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
You might have like dodged a bullet, like working for some weird ass company that's like has some sort of fetish for hiring teenagers, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's bad business to discriminate.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
A bit of a side note too, Death Stranding comes out today. I'm curious if we can get your thoughts at some point on that game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably play it and be weirded out by it. I love Kojima, so I'm sure I'll like it. I know there's like some mixed reviews out there. I saw that, but I generally don't watch reviews for games I know I want to play. So it's one of those games. Just because people have different opinions, and sometimes I disagree with them. And I don't want someone else's opinion to accidentally taint mine. Like, and the only reason why I even know that there's dissenting opinions is because on my YouTube feed is just like, is Death Stranding good? I'm like, all right, I'm not watching that one. And some people say the reason why you might not like Death Stranding, or the reason why you love it, or the reason why people don't get it. Yeah. I'll play for myself, and if it doesn't make sense and it's just stupid, I'll be very clear about it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know if I'll even play it because I haven't been playing games for freaking years, dude.
Okay.
Any question before we totally bounce out of here?
I'm good.
All right, cool. Thank you, Win. I'm good, bro. I'm solid. Who has their mic open? Is that you, Armando?
Yeah, sorry.
How dare you? Who's that other person? They have to pay for the mentorship.
I know. My
Well,
girlfriend telling me we have to go get lunch.
Nope. Tell her to cough at $500 for split.
Yep.
All right. All right. That's a good cue. Armando's girlfriend is telling us to leave the class. So we'll take that as a good sign to bounce out. I appreciate you guys. You guys are all awesome. Great work. Work your butts off this weekend because this is the final week that we're going into.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to make sure you guys do a good job and kill it. With that being said, peace out, friends. I'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.